Great morning, world. Great morning, friends. This is your boy Dragon, and welcome to another edition of the Rise Up with Dragon podcast. I just want to remind everybody that this is the eye of the storm, the playing field for your consciousness. And remember, this podcast intention is to remove the blindfolds from your programmed mind so that you can gain access to higher levels of consciousness. It's the whole reason I do this. And therefore, tap into your true great potential. How do we do this? We do this with our 10-minute deep thought, straight to the point podcast format, our weekly blog called The Dragon's Lair, One from the Vault, as well as our upcoming online courses and books, plural. Welcome, my friends, to another Rise Up with Dragon.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Get into the float state with Calmer Mind meditations and gear.
So what's up, dudes? Dragon thoughts for the morning. Today's episode is called NPCs, non-player characters. One of my very, very favorite tools that I share, that I've absorbed and I share in my book and a lot of my teaching. You guys are going to love this. But just to start off, just some thoughts on my mind. Just once again, I can't stress enough how important it is, or how much value there is to moving into places of discomfort. I know you know that. We read that in so many books, but I just want to highlight it again because the very essence of how I created this show was I took the thing that was scariest and most uncomfortable to me years and years ago, that was speaking and putting myself out there in front of other people. And I just exaggeratingly did that, and I practice it every day, right? So there's that. But then also there's the mornings, like this morning, like so many mornings that don't go your way, like this morning. Normally what I do is I'll do my rise up and I'll print it and I'll have that. That's my comfort. It used to be uncomfortable, but now it's my comfort zone to have this piece of paper that I kind of like reference. But the printer doesn't work, right? And it's interesting because I was looking at the cost of the printer. I think it's like $400, but like the ink that I had to buy was like 401, right? But anyway, so I don't have my normal comfortable scenario here. So what I had to do was improvise, and the idea of it is scary and uncomfortable. But because I have the knowledge, because I'm working this interface response system all the time, and I'm fully aware of this concept of pushing into the uncomfortable place, I find myself scared and nervous about the idea of doing something unusual, right? I could easily slip into this idea that it's happening to me, right? And it's like a bummer situation. I'm at a disadvantage. But I find myself excited about it. And that's, I think, what we're all looking to accomplish one day. It's one thing to know that growth takes place out of the comfort zone, but it's another thing to be able to get to that point where the discomfort or the challenge or the adversity shows up, and not only recognize it as a good thing, but find yourself getting excited about the opportunity because it promotes growth. I know that's pretty heavy. Secondly, the other thing, just a thought for the day. I put up a post the other day. I was just recognizing, because I'm very, very into the idea of recognizing that which we consume on a regular basis is what we end up assuming, right? So our perception, that's a big part of the interface response system, is grabbing onto this idea that when you look at something and perceive it, your mechanism for perceiving it is based on your wiring, your virtual reality suit, your programming, which has been programmed by others. and what you consume on a regular basis. So one of the things that I see happening quite often with you, with me, is just this whole concept on social media of following other people, right? I mean, like when you might be following me, I might be following you, but I think it's important to recognize that the people that you choose to follow on social media, they're not just providing content, they're providing consumption. And if you're following somebody, you're consuming their content on a regular basis. And it then at that point starts to have a say in your programming. So I just want to highlight that and bring that into your consciousness, as I'm going to do with this Rise Up. Just recognize that the people that you've chosen to follow, they might be talking about propaganda. They're sharing their opinions. They're living their stuff out loud and very often having exclamation points behind what they say. So if you're following them on a regular basis and you're getting their stories and all that stuff, it's no different than the way that the TV just like somehow miraculously puts up advertisements that are relevant to you. You know, Chicken and I use these flavor infusers and, you know, the Mayo, whatever, not a plug, but we use those to flavor our water and get, you know, the vitamins and stuff. Not looking for opinions on that. We use it, right? And we notice that the advertisements for it pop up like not only on our computer, but on our TV. So just recognize that which you follow and consume ends up after a while, because of the programming of consistent consumption, that which you consume, you end up assuming. So if you have assumptions, good day, bad day, you know, I like this, I don't like that. Just recognize that that's being controlled by your programming, which is being controlled by your regular consumption. So consider unfollowing some things that don't serve you, that don't support your desired state. Okay, cool. Interesting, right? Love your feedback on that stuff. And to that point, if my podcast and my social media is not serving you, like look at your goal in life. And if this podcast is not serving you and maybe distracting you and you're not seeing forward progress, unfollow me, right? Become selfish and minimize anything that you're allowing in that's not in service, including people, including friends and family. All right. So let's talk about NPCs. So I recently published or posted the podcast interview with the amazing Rizwan Virk and this whole concept of the simulation hypothesis. So I very, very much am into this idea of looking at the world and our reality as a simulation, as a video game. So one of the cool things about that whole concept, and Chicken and I talk about this all the time, is what they call NPCs, which stands for non-player characters. And you guys will all know what this is, because whether you're playing games or, you know, your kids are, you see this all the time. So a non-player characters. So just like the invaders, for all of you old folks, the invaders and Space Invaders, the ghosts in Pac-Man, we've always known what an NPC is versus a PC. So an NPC is a non-player character versus a player character. So I want, just for the record, in your life, you're the player character, right? So in video games, an NPC, a non-player character, refers to the character that you can interact with, and their purpose, they're there to they either guide you or hinder you in any sort of a way, right? And it supports the game, the program. So what that means is that a non-player character in a video game is like somebody that's standing there that you come across. And in a video game, you'll push a button and they'll like say, go this way, or they'll pose a challenge. Like it might be someone that you have to battle to get to the next level. So that's what a non-player character are, right? But it's important to recognize that if you're to look at your life as a game, as a video game, you're the actual featured player. Now, sometimes in personal growth, we recognize you hold the pen to write the story, right? You're the director, you're the lead role, right? You're the featured person in this game. And I just want you to entertain the idea that everybody else is a non-player character that is just enhancing or challenging the whole reality of your life. This is a fun thing to do. And I know that some of the pushback will be like, well, I don't want to put anybody down and put people below me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you the idea of just entertaining the thought that anybody that you come across or anything that you come across is just part of the game experience, right? You're the actual character. So back up from that idea. And as I teach, the concept of, cognitive distancing, back up from that idea and give a great big, right? Look at it. Don't create an opinion, but just say, right? What that means is that like we can call like the ghost in Pac-Man. Pac-Man, this is a game where he's munching all those pellets, but then all of a sudden the ghosts are chasing Pac-Man. Now, when you think about the ghost, is a ghost a good thing or a bad thing? It's trying to kill you, right? So you could look at the ghost in Pac-Man and say, okay, Pac-Man's the featured player, right? And the ghost is the NPC. And its purpose, the ghost's purpose, we just stated it, and look at it as something that is bad chasing you, right? And chasing you down to kill you in the game. So that you can look at the NPC there and say, I know what it's for. So in that reality, we fearlessly try to outrun it and we win. So we know what our purpose is. We know what its purpose is. You can look at it as something that drives you to win, right? If you stop and like assess the situation, the ghost is going to eat you, right? So we fearlessly try to outrun it and we win. If it catches you in the game, you die, and then you simply just reborn, you rebirth, and then the game is over. The only downside of that is that you might have lost your forward progress. So what would it take for you, humans, right? Humans to, what would it take for you to live your life fearlessly like that? So I'm giving you the opportunity. Don't be foolish about this, but I'm giving you the opportunity to look at life as a game. And the value in that is you will learn how to not take certain things too seriously. So that's kind of the focus of this Rise Up, right? Live your life fearlessly like this. So you'd need to first get rid of your fear of death. Technically, you're not afraid of Pac-Man dying in the game, right? In a game, you're not afraid of dying because you get to be reborn. So one of the reasons why we take things so seriously when we interact with NPCs is because we don't get to push a button and reborn or be reborn. So one of the things that we have to do as humans is we have to get rid of our fear of dying. We're going to die. Like that's that mortality mentality that can drive you. So you'd have to get rid of your fear of death, which was a big step for me. And then also reprogram your mind to look at all the people, and this is the game. This is the fun. Look at all the people and obstacles standing in your way as NPCs in your game, and recognize that you get to decide based on where you're going. You get to decide if they're there for you or against you, right? So, I mean, aren't they? Think about that for a second. So, I mean, when looking at your life experience through your eyes, right? Remember, your eyes have been programmed by your programmers. When you're looking through reality with your eyes and perceiving it through your virtual reality suit, which is all of your 6 senses that have been programmed by your program, aren't all the people and things kind of, I mean, remember, you're just perceiving the world, right? Aren't all the things that, the people and the things kind of part of this game experience, and they're to basically help or hinder you. So just come up with that idea. Say, yes, I get that. All of the things that come up in my game, the non-player characters, non-player entities, they're there to help me or hurt me. And I get to decide that. What if we learned to change how we look at them and flipped a switch from looking at them as a hindrance to that as a necessity? So that would be a way of, when somebody does some screwed up shit to you, that would be a way of you becoming that person that says, well, how is this happening for me? What can I gain from this, rather than becoming a victim? And when you eradicate When you start to get better at not being a victim in life, you become another thing that I actually made up called an NVP, which is a non-victim player or a non-victim character, an NVC, right? Because you could be a VC in life in your game, and that is a victim character, which means that everything's happening to you. Or you could play this game like I'm entertaining right now and be a non-victim character, an NVC, which is super cool. And you could start to look at these things that are happening as potential clues and guides that are there for you. So I think the switch gets flipped as soon as you change the way that you're looking at things from a place of to me and for me. So that's a place of curiosity. You start to say, how is this happening? And all the greats talk about this. If you're talking to a therapist or a personal growth guru, they're probably saying, how is this happening for you? So I'm saying empower yourself with the idea of doing this on a regular basis, meaning to look at the NPCs in your game with curiosity, and you're questioning like things like, why are they there and what their purpose is and lesson, what are they there to do for me? And you'd have to know where you're going to be able to assess that. So I like to question why they showed up. Here's what's interesting too. And I know sometimes we do this. We say things like everything happens for a reason, right? I like to look at the things and people, and I like to ask questions like, why did they show up at all in this game? And why, for some reason, did I notice them? Now, that's another thing, is wherever you're looking in a game, what you're doing is by the very nature of looking at it, you're rendering what you're seeing. But the question then says, what's happening behind me? Does it even exist? Is it rendered until I actually look at it? So remember, you're like your virtual reality suit and your perception machine is rendering this stuff. So I get curious sometimes, like, why did I notice that thing or that person, right? Why did they show up? And also, so what are they doing for me? But also, why did I notice it when I didn't notice something else? So that's an interesting thing to ask yourself, because the very nature of asking, why did I notice something, forces you to acknowledge the fact that it might be there for a reason. So that's a way you can flip the switch and start looking at this idea of why did it happen for me, right? Because if you don't think like that, you might think that things are happening to you. Why did I notice them? So whether it, be the girl or chicken of my dreams, right? I always wonder, like, it's one thing to say I met the girl of my dreams, but when she passed through, when so many people were opportunistically passing through my life, how did I notice her? And why did I notice her in that way? So I like to look at the things as a game. Chicken and I often look at people as cartoons, right? So we just to try to not take them so serious because they're non-player characters. So maybe a bird flying overhead, an antagonist that shows up in your life. I think this way when I'm on a stage in front of a crowd of thousands of people, like, why is this happening? Yet here we are. So I like to question why they are positioned with me and why I am noticing them. So that's a great way to play this game. Rather than look at them as an experience happening to me, right? It's my experience. I'm the real-time character, the director, the author of this game. Yeah, you have to acknowledge that. This is my experience. I'm perceiving it. And don't be afraid of being selfish like that. It's just a game. Right. And there's a lot of value in this, right? This is my experience that's being perceived, and I therefore control it. Because the saying, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So in your game, if you want to completely change the reality that's being rendered in front of you, all you would need to do is change the way you look at it. The ability to change the way you look at things comes from the acknowledgement that this is a game. Right. And you start to look at things differently. So if you walk around today and start looking at people as non-player characters, as cartoons, and recognize you get to decide, are they for you or against you? And even if they're against you, you can ask if how they're serving you. But that's how you change the way you look at things. You play a game, right? And if you change the way you look at things, things will look at change. That's how you will create a new reality, which is really cool. So not the other way around. Right? you're in control of it. It's not in control of you. And if you think that life is in control of you, that's just a perception that you were taught to have by your programmers. You're running that program, right? So things that make you go, So I know I went a little bit heavy today, but from the feedback that I'm getting from all of you guys when you approach me, and it blows my mind how many people are listening to this podcast now. You guys like the heavy, and I'm so impressed that you get this stuff, that it makes sense to you. So love and appreciate you all. This was a lot of fun, and I'm excited about the day ahead for me and for you. Have a wonderful day.